Hey guys, Stealth here. Welcome to the world of Warships. Today we're doing the Megami, and I'm in a platoon or a division with the Fubuki here, the TheVehm. Together we're going to try and engage the sea area up ahead, and unfortunately there are quite a few tier 9s on the enemy team. They have a Baltimore, a Donskoy, a Frederick the Grosse, and an Iowa, so we do have quite a few things that can really hurt us. Fortunately, the enemy only has a couple of Tashkents for destroyers, and these things are very easily spotted. So hopefully we can knock these guys down, and with that move on to the cap and secure that area. Now Fubuki has quite a few torpedoes, long range torpedoes that is, she can fire them from stealth. The Megami, my ship, can do more or less the same thing. As with the Camouflage Expert, I've been able to get my detectability range down to 9.3, which means that my torpedoes have a range of 10, so I can do a stealth fire if I absolutely have to. That stealth detection, or that stealth ability, is going to be absolutely critical. And you're going to see that sometime later in the match. For now, them is racing ahead, trying to get the early capture. And we were just discussing in chat how I really don't like the Megami. I know that some people really love this ship, but I don't know, I just never do really well in it. Maybe I'm too aggressive in it, maybe I'm just not playing the ship right. It's just not really my type of ship. And then you have one of these games, just watch. For now, opening up on the Tashkent, and of course I'm trying to get as many guns on target as possible. Now the gun layout on the Megami is a bit unusual. You have 3 turrets on your bow and 2 on your stern. But the second turret on the bow is a super firing turret. You can see it right here. It has a lot of elevation if you're looking directly forward, which means that it will not be able to fire at anything directly in front of you. So I basically only have 4 guns that can fire at the enemy. And I'm trying to get a couple of shots in. Immediately start slowing down as I'm taking fire, and I'm not the only one. Them is trying to get a couple of torpedoes off. They're going towards, I believe, the smoke screen, but it is definitely time for me to get the hell out of here. I was hoping that this York was continuing to just dash into this zone, but unfortunately it turns out that he stopped. Now normally you can fire a torpedo salvo at a target that is beyond your torpedo range if the target is moving towards your torpedoes. But unfortunately this guy was not doing any such thing. There's the torpedo from the TheVehm who managed to hit the Tashkent. He's down to 3,000 hit points. And in the meanwhile we have decided that it might be a good time to get the hell out while we still can. Because currently we have multiple enemy ships. We have 6 enemy ships here versus just the 4 of us, of which 1 is not even involved in the battle. The Shores over there is actually behind an island. A couple of shots going in on the Tashkent, trying to get him out of play, and there we go. The Fubuki, also known as the TheVehm, took him out. And this is something that is a bit of an inside joke between the two, as the majority of Japanese destroyer captains seem to have forgotten the fact that they have guns. They seem to have forgotten the fact that they can actually fire HE or even AP at targets. If you remember that you have guns, then you can actually use them to do quite a lot of damage. Trying to pump out a bit of damage here on the Der Grosse, the tier 9 battleship. He's just perfectly stable, he's just perfectly steady. Fortunately I get 1 fire, but of course he's going to put that out pretty soon. Which, in a way, is a bit of a surprise, because normally you'd say, I let 1 fire burn, and when I have 2 fires going on my ship, I'll put those out. So I try to get him on fire again, doesn't quite seem to work. And I'm immediately retreating behind the island with all of those ships. The TheVehm, in the meanwhile, is still fighting. You can see him back there. He is still trying to get torpedoes in on every single ship that there is around there. But he is also taking torpedoes from multiple enemy ships. He seems to have dodged them all so far, but it's time for him to leave as well. The enemy has captured the C cap, we have the B cap, and the A cap is more or less even. Although the enemy does seem to have more ships over there. Now, you could say that this is a bit of a mistake on my positioning, and I'd be inclined to agree. I'm too far behind the island here. I cannot actually do anything from out here. And this is something that I really need to work on. The positioning of my cruisers, or the positioning of my ships in general. I mean, with destroyers it's not that big of an issue, because you have that better concealment. You can basically close towards the enemy and still not get detected, depending on the type of destroyer that you're playing. The cruisers don't really have that. And had I continued along this edge of the island, I would have gone up very, very close to the Scharnhorst, which just happens to be a really good anti-cruiser battleship. Fires fast, and it's just a really, really nasty threat to me personally. So time to back off, and with that engage from the other side. TheVehm behind me, still fighting. He's trying to get a torpedo salvo in on the Scharnhorst, I believe. And with that, he should be able to get the kill there. 32,000 hit points. Now, I did check if the Scharnhorst was otherwise engaged, and it definitely was. And that's why I opened up fire on him with a broadside. With that broadside, though, I'm also opening myself up to fire from the other end, which does have quite a few nasty ships, but they all seem to be engaged with the Bismarck, the Kiev, and the Rune that we have over there. All of which, by the way, are not doing too well. And while we have 4 kills, and the team is looking rather well, it's going to start turning around pretty damn soon. We're going to start to lose a lot of ships. Trying to get more fire in on the Scharnhorst here. He is already burning, but I want to keep him going. There's also a Mayoko over on the right there, and I believe that this is... I think it is the Kuchezov. Or it's the Don... No, actually the Kuchezov's over there. So it's the Donskoy over there, who is a bit out of position. Because the only thing he can fire at is our shores. And if the shores doesn't fire, then he should be detected, or he should be concealed. A couple of hits going in, trying to get the Scharnhorst on fire. Correction, the Grösse on fire again. But he's behind the island, so I'm switching fire now. Trying to get the Scharnhorst next. Rounds going in. I'm not sure I gave enough lead there. Not exactly. Scharnhorst is pretty fast if it's going to actually start to use those engines. Now, the team is melting away around us. We used to have a +2 advantage on them. Now they have a +2 advantage on us. And with that, we also lost our 2 Tier 9 battleships. They still have their Tier 9 cruiser and their Tier 9 battleship. We don't really have that much of an answer to it. 3 of our Tier 9s are dead. We just have 1 Baltimore left. But the Baltimore is behind me, I believe. Fighting for its life and not correction, it's in front of me, fighting for its life. And not really doing too well against the Grösse over here. He's doing whatever he can with AP, HE, mostly I think AP. But he is perfectly inside range of the secondaries from the Grösse, and the Grösse actually takes him out. 1 more salvo and the Grösse himself is gone too. But we're not doing very well. The enemy has multiple capture zones, although TheVehm is capturing C, which should give us a bit of a breather. And I'm going to stick very, very close to this North Carolina here, Admiral Gautier. We're going to together try and take down this Scharnhorst. Scharnhorst does have torpedoes, so I am not too happy about getting too close to that ship. I believe the torpedo range is only 6 clicks, but with that it can still pose a significant threat, both to me and the North Carolina. Now if I had Hydro, I would have definitely enabled it, just to have a bit of a look and see if the Scharnhorst is firing around the island, but no such thing. I continue to fire HE. That's a mistake here. I should have fired AP at this target. I was so close that AP would have done more damage, especially the superstructure would have really taken a few hits. Torpedoes that you see coming in are from the TheVehm. He's swearing a bit there in chat as his salvo missed. And now I'm finally switching to AP. Here we go, come on, he's almost down. The Scharnhorst has fired torpedoes. The North Carolina is trying to avoid them. Manages to take 1 torpedo, but dodged the other ones. And there is the Scharnhorst dead. So, we're only one ship down now. And with that, we are doing decent, but our Shores over here is in a lot of trouble. He's still being chased down by 2 cruisers. The North Carolina still has 40,000 hit points, but there is a lot of firepower coming towards us from the middle of the map. We have the Kuchezov, the Amagi. There's a North Carolina coming in as well, and the Kuchezov that we have seen coming in from the Sea Cap. And of course there's the Tashkent, so it's basically the whole of the enemy team. I try to fire, of course now I have the wrong type of ammo loaded, and this is when I start to really mess up with my ammo. I switch to HE, and later on I'm going to keep switching back to AP and HE while they're still loading. So I'm actually going to waste quite a bit of DPS that I have the potential to use. TheVehm is trying to get away. He has fired a few torpedoes and is now making his way away from that firing zone. Because against a Kuchezov, a Fubuki is not going to do terribly well. Kuchezov seems to be firing HE or AP, I'm not exactly sure, but I think that salvo was AP. And the Kuchezov is notorious for putting stuff on fire. That is something that ship does extremely, extremely well. So I don't really want to engage in a gunfight with a Kuchezov, not at short range, because he's just going to hose me down with fire damage. And talking about fire damage, the Tashkent has managed to put the North Carolina in front of me on fire. I'm sticking really close to this North Carolina. I want to keep this guy as much, I want to give him as much protection as possible. Although the only real protection against torpedoes I can give him is by maneuvering inside the torpedo myself, which of course is not really ideal. He continues to turn, puts out the fire, he's down to 35,000 hit points. Here's a couple of torpedoes coming in potentially from the Tashkent. And we have them right behind me. I mentioned in chat we have 2 battleships incoming, the Amagi and the North Carolina. And he is going to get some torpedoes in on them, which is definitely going to save our hides. The scores are currently 5 ships versus 3. We have just lost the Shores over on this side of the map, which is both, or correction, here, this is where he died. This is both a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing in the sense that we now know where the other ships are, and that we know that it's going to take them a while to get closer. So we can deal with these nasties before they get close. Here we go, bit of damage coming in, not that much really. And this is when I start to muck up my ammo loads. I switch back to AP. I was looking for a torpedo solution, firing narrowly in front of the North Carolina, who is heavily taking fire from multiple ships. And that's when I saw the Tashkent again, so I switched back to HE. The torpedoes aimed for the North Carolina unfortunately don't find their mark, as TheVehm was able to nail the North Carolina, the Amagi. The North Carolina's behind him there. Tashkent has managed to fire off torpedoes, and it was actually, I believe, the fire from the Tashkent that killed the North Carolina. Here's the Kuchezov. To make matters worse, the Kuchezov is joining the party. He's he's very good on health. He's 20,000 in. The North Carolina is full health. So, I don't really have a lot of options. I need to try and get this guy nailed with armor penetration rounds or armor piercing rounds as fast as possible. Torpedoes are coming in. Those were the torpedoes from the Kuchezov, so I know that he fired some of his launchers. I get a salvo in, try to turn away from the North Carolina. There's the Kuchezov dead. Unfortunately with that, I no longer have any good weaponry against the North Carolina, other than my AP or my HE rounds, because my torpedoes take 90 seconds to reload. The other salvo on my starboard area is available in 30 seconds, but that means I have to expose the whole ship again. So for now I'm just trying to burn this guy down and basically waiting for TheVehm to do a torpedo run, hoping that he has the ability to fire his torps at this ship, hoping that they're ready again. With the North Carolina busy with the TheVehm here, I'm trying to get as much firepower concentrated on this ship, and there's the torpedoes, instantly doing a massive amount of damage to the North Carolina and getting him. So now it's a 2 versus 1, but Bloody hell, this was a close call. We have still one capture zone. It's 617 versus 587 on points. They have one ship left. My health is really low. I'm on 12,000. And Fubuki, or the TheVehm here, is at 6,600. Now, I was holding my fire, hoping to get reconcealed, but of course I wasn't expecting the aircraft over here, so I was actually still detected. With the 9.3 detection range, or a 9.3 concealment range, depending on how you want to look at it, I was trying to hold my position, trying to not give away my location. And also waiting for my torpedoes to come back on. So I'm just basically running away from this fight. Because I don't really want to tangle with a full health, or nearly full health, Dmitry Donskoy, who is going to definitely out-DPM me. And, to make matters worse, has the flat side of the ship. I'm broadside onto him and I got nowhere to go. So, torpedoes away. 9.2 kilometer range gives him plenty of time to maneuver. And there's the maneuvering. He's already trying to angle away, trying to get more guns on me. And with my salvo, I switched to AP immediately, trying to get a little bit more damage in on this guy. 7,700 damage, 24,000 left. I am down to 8,400. He perfectly avoids the torpedoes, and then he goes bow on. So I was like, oh shit. He goes bow on, and I have no way of using my AP to do a lot of damage. I get a few rounds in, 1,500 damage. I score Confederate, but I don't really care about Confederate. I want to get this guy killed. So now I go bow on. He managed to get 2 fires on me. I put those out just a couple of seconds ago. A couple of rounds going in, but with this layout I only have 2 turrets that can actually fire. More salvos going in. I get 1 citadel. 800 damage. I was hoping for another citadel, but my rounds fell just a bit short. 300 hit points left. 100 hit points left. There we go. That's my ship done. But that's not the end of it. The TheVehm has quite cleverly abandoned the fight, and I knew he was going to do that. He is going to just capture A. And with both C and B under our control and just 2 minutes and 45 seconds left on the clock, we win the fight. Because there is no way that the Donskoy can actually still get back. The Donskoy has to capture B, then rush over to C or A. And he has no real way of getting a good detection on the TheVehm before the TheVehm manages to get outside of his range. So this was really a clincher of a game, and the TheVehm really came through with all the torpedo salvos that he got off. Really well done. He scored 116,000 damage, I scored 122,000. We managed to get captures, torpedo hits, main gun hits. It was just a real fest of weaponry. And let's have a look at the battle results screen to show you what exactly happened here. And here's the results. 372,825 credits, almost 7,000 XP there, 336 free XP, 122,000 damage. Now, all of that damage output and supporting the team got me at the top of the leaderboard together with TheVehm, who got even more XP, and we're going to look at his results screen soon. 2,241 base XP for me and 2,692 base XP for him. Really well played there. Detailed report shows you that I spread out my damage quite nicely, and that's why you get the Confederate award. 28,000 on the Kutuzov, 23,000 on the Friedrich de Grösse, 11,000 on the Scharnhorst, a bit of damage on the North Carolina, the Donskoy got a bit of damage. And the torpedoes actually didn't do that much. They only did 17,000, and I probably should be using those a lot more. The fire damage did not do as much damage as I had expected. It was not as significant as it only did 28,000 damage. I had expected to do a bit more with that. Moving on to the actual credits and XP, of course I don't actually get 370,000, I get 236,000 because I'm using mostly premium consumables, and that does of course chop into your budget. Now it's a daily win, that's the only modifier that I get, so the base XP here with a premium account is 3358. and I don't really have any captain's flags or special flags on to keep this thing boosting XP. Having a look at the experience gained by TheVehm, this is his result screen. 460,000 credits, almost 8,000 XP, 404 free XP, 9 torpedo hits, but look at his main gun battery. 41 target hits, so he's actually one of those destroyer captains, and I might say rare destroyer captains for the Japanese Navy, who actually knows that he has guns and isn't afraid to use them. Destroyed 3 ships, caused 9 incidents of flooding, defended 2 of the capture zones, and captured all 3 of our caps. His detailed report shows you that he did not do that much damage to flooding, or through flooding, only 1500, and virtually all of his damage was done by the torpedoes that actually hit the ships. 98,000 damage through 69 torpedoes, of which 9 hit the target. That is damage output with a destroyer, especially the Japanese. 49,000 damage on the North Carolina. If he hadn't killed off that North Carolina, I would probably not have survived, and neither would he, because he was so close to the North Carolina, and the North Carolina was focusing on him, that he really had nowhere to go. He had to kill the guy. Amagi, a bit of damage, 26,000. The Scharnhorst, 22, almost 23,000. And look at the Tashkent. The Tashkent, he fired probably his main guns at it for 2,700 hit points. Japanese destroyer captains, remember you have guns. We had a couple of games back a situation where a Japanese destroyer could have killed me with one shot, but he was just oblivious to the fact that he had guns. Don't be one of those guys. Be one of these guys. Be like them and have a look at your ship. You have guns, use them. His credits and XP looks like this. 337,000 and 8,000 XP gained. So definitely well played there. So that was a clincher of a game for us. We really enjoyed that, and I hope you did too. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about the game. And if you have a game of your own that you would like me to show on this channel, please send me the replay file itself, as well as 4 screenshots of your result screen. So the personal score, team score, detailed report, and the credits and XP. Because with that I can build a video, and with that I can feature you on the channel. Link to my email address in the description down below. Once again, thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for more World of Warships.